Dan Byles.
I'm grateful. I'd like to join other honourable members in the House in sending my thoughts and prayers to our servicemen and women who are in operations over Libya and those who will be doing so shortly at this time, and of course to their families. As a former soldier, I believe that British soldiers, sailors and airmen should only be committed to military action reluctantly and as a last resort. A point very, very eloquently highlighted by my honourable friend, the member for Keighley, in a very moving speech earlier in the debate. But when they are so committed, they cannot be committed in a half-hearted way. They must have the resources to do the job they're asked to do robustly and properly. And perhaps equally important, they must have a mandate and a set of rules of engagement that allow them to do the job properly and robustly. I believe the House is broadly united, possibly with the exception of the honourable member who spoke previously, broadly united that in the case of Libya, events had reached the stage where committing our military to enforcing this UN resolution is absolutely the right thing to do. Let us not forget where we were on Thursday afternoon. The momentum was with Gaddafi's forces, which were advancing on Benghazi, and every indication was that the city would fall in a matter of hours. Time was pressing. The Right Honourable Member for North East Fife has already read to the House the chilling words that Gaddafi himself put out over the radio about what might happen if the city did fall. Uncharacteristically, the United Nations Security Council not only passed a swift resolution, it passed a robust resolution, and that robustness is very welcome. And I'd like to congratulate the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary for the role they played in securing that very important resolution. I believe it is vital that we ensure at every stage of this operation that we operate at all times within the legality of that UN mandate, and that we retain the broad support of the wider region. Like my right honourable friend, the member for Kensington, I was concerned over the weekend at reports that Amr Moussa, the Secretary-General of the Arab League, had expressed some concerns about the UN mandate. Thankfully, he has now clarified his position, and the Arab League are firmly behind the action that is taking place. And I'm not surprised, given the League's early call for international action was perhaps a key moment in allowing the UN to go forward with the mandate. But it does reflect the delicacy of the situation and the urgent need to include a broader alliance of regional forces in the operation currently taking place. Like the Right Honourable Member for Coventry North East, I was very pleased to hear of the imminent involvement of Qatari assets, for example, and I believe that such involvement is essential for the wider legitimacy of the operation. However, it also demonstrates the need for continuing diplomacy alongside military action, and the need for us to be nimble and fleet of foot when it comes to the diplomatic situation, which will be, I fear, a shifting sand, if that's not mixing my metaphors, on which we're going to be operating. I actually believe that we should not be afraid, if necessary, to pause or freeze military action should we lose the support of the wider region. We must not tip over from doing what we were invited to do into a situation where we are being seen to impose our view of what the solution should be upon the region. Should that happen, I believe we should maintain our grip very firmly on the big stick, while, if necessary, walking a little more softly until we can rebuild that regional coalition. The Right Honourable Member for Coventry North East expressed who is not in his place at the moment, expressed his deep concern following the lessons from Iraq. And he was right to do so. But I don't believe that the spectre of Iraq should prevent us from doing what we believe is right and from what is ultimately in our national interests, as the Prime Minister very clearly made clear in his opening remarks, provided that we maintain that legal legitimacy and that broad regional support. The Honourable Member for Milton Keynes North is absolutely right when he says that this is just the start of the process and that we don't yet know how it will finish. But I believe that if we're to stay the course, we must make sure that we stay within the legal framework and that we maintain the regional support for what we're doing. It is therefore with some regret that I will be voting for this motion. Regret because committing military forces to action anywhere in the world is regretful. It will lead to dead soldiers. If not dead British ones, then dead Libyan ones. Because don't forget, whichever side wins, there are casualties on the other side. But I will be voting for this motion, and I trust that the majority of the House will do so too, because I think we need to send a clear message tonight that we are united in this, that we support the United Nations resolution, that we as a House recognise that this action is both legitimate and necessary, and that we, this House, support our servicemen and women in the difficult and dangerous tasks that lie ahead.
Madeleine Moon.
Speaker, I'd like to start, like many others have, by paying my thanks to the RAF ground crew and pilots and the Royal Naval personnel.